Hey everyone, so why is the freedom of not just speech, but hateful speech, or even untrue and insincere speech, why is this so important to protect? The reason is that by being a human being, you will almost assuredly, by default, engage in speech of this manner at some point in your life. We are all perpetrators of this. Now, hopefully you learn to limit it, but it's almost a guarantee that you will use speech at some point in your life that is unkind, untrue, or insincere. So why then do we need to protect this speech? We need to protect it for the same reason that we need to do away with the gargantuan Federal Register, which is tens of thousands of pages filled with federal laws and regulatory codes. Now, what do these two things have to do with one another, the freedom of speech and the Federal Register? Well, the Federal Register and its endless mandates on nearly everything having to do with existing turns everyone into a felon. It was estimated in a book by Harvey Silverglate that the average American commits 3 felonies a day, and that is not an unreasonable thing to estimate once you realize that the federal government has laws pertaining to nearly everything, including what song you might be singing while walking down the street. Yes, that is correct. If you are singing a copyrighted song in public, that is grounds for legal action to be taken against you, and that is just one example of literally tens of thousands of insane laws. So what does this have to do with being fervent in protecting free speech? Well, as I said, we all say things that may be construed as hateful or proven to be outright false. If you make that type of speech illegal in any form, you are turning every single US citizen, every conservative, every liberal, every leftist, every alt-righter, and everything and everyone outside and in between those groups, you are turning them all into potential candidates for being imprisoned or fined for saying the wrong thing. Now, those who are subscribers to the social justice narrative, this is the reason why they should be the last people to be aiming for repression of free and open discourse. As I and many others have pointed out, they are simply wrong on many of their assertions, whether they are talking about casting guilt and blame on all white males, or their rhetoric about the gender wage gap, or their assertion that masculinity is inherently toxic. These statements can easily be shown to be downright false, downright vilifying towards the tens of millions of white males in this country, and far more divisive and incendiary than they are constructive and unifying. It can be easily shown that the narrative being pushed forth by the social justice movement is far more hurtful than it is helpful. So what if we begin jailing people for saying things that are false, hurtful, or unhelpful? I'm not sure if social justice warriors would be the first in line to go to prison, but they most certainly would be in that line. And there is nothing in me that hopes for them to go to prison. They should be allowed to say whatever they'd like, even if what they're saying has been completely debunked or shown to be truly toxic speech, which again, there is very little room for error in identifying the SJW narrative as being hateful, racist against white people, and untrue. But as I said, I do not believe for a minute that any social justice warrior deserves to spend 1 second in a prison cell for speaking their mind. Can they say they would extend that same courtesy to me? I sincerely doubt it. But thank you, and that's all.